Would have been so bad. In this gig bag is the single guitar that started my entire love for electric guitars. My first electric guitar was one of these, and I can't wait to show you that the brand new Tom Delonge is in this gig bag. So let's dig in. I'm Jeremy, this is Guitar Hunter. This is not a sponsored video, I just happened to get one of these in time for the release. So bada bang bada boom, this is a graffiti yellow Tom Delonge Stratocaster. This is a Fender one. Now mine was made in 2002 or 2003, and I also need to say mine was a Squier, but here are my actual first reactions to this, the brand new Fender Tom Delonge Stratocaster. Now, this thing has some things that are so cool and so exciting compared to the original ones. But before I get into any of that, two things need to happen. Number one, you need to subscribe. I'm Jeremy, this is Guitar Hunter. I am on a mission to help fill the world with music and friendship, to build a community of people that care about guitars and care about people. So, subscribe to that. Number two, let's hear how this thing sounds. I'm playing this guitar into a Tone Master Deluxe Reverb on about noon, 5:30. It will break up because of the pickup that's in this guitar. When you hear the gas get put on, when you hear the ace up my sleeve, that is the OCE Monkey Wrench. It is my favorite pedal. There's a link in the description down below. It is a rat on steroids. It's a terrifying image, but it's made by a dear friend, and it's an excellent pedal. Going back to like 3.5 or 4. My first impressions of this guitar are that it is genuinely magical, and they really did get it just as good, just as fun, just as exciting as the original. Now, there are a couple things that are definitely different and better on this. Let me just tell you what this thing exactly is in 2023. This thing is an ode to pop punk. Now, this is, there was a guy that came in the guitar shop the other day, young guy, and he was like, my dad grew up, he just raised me on classic rock, you know, like AFI, Blink-182, Avenged Sevenfold, just, you know, classic rock. And we're all like, oh my gosh, we're all old now. The things they got totally right on this. Graffiti yellow, this yellow is the coolest color. This was more of a rare color. There's seafoam green, Daphne blue, there's black, and there's the graffiti yellow. I think that this is the coolest of the 4 colors that they came out with in 2023. They also did the vintage style tuners. I don't think the original ones had vintage tuners. I could be wrong. I only ever owned a Squire, which didn't have the vintage tuners. This time, they are not doing a Squire version. They're only doing a Fender version, and this one is, I'll say it, it's expensive. $1,299. It's a lot of money for a Mexican-made Stratocaster. Comes in a gig bag, but 10, 20 years ago, when I bought that guitar, I got that guitar in a gig bag for $1,000 less than this guitar. I think I paid $299 or maybe $300 and something for my, I'll use the Wayback Time Machine and I'll figure out exactly how much the black on black Tom DeLonge Squires went for. In all of its early 2000s glory, this thing is badass. Perloid pickguard, graffiti yellow. One of the things that they nailed is that they used the big block saddles, which this is a key thing just coming out of that time period. This was the thing that everyone said your tone would be better because of. And so it's a really cool thing when it lands 20 years later. It's not the bent vintagey style. We've been on this like super vintage 50s and 60s kick. This is just like perfectly cool and modern 90s. Now they do the block, they do the hardtail bridge. Very cool. I love a Strat with the string through bodies and the ferrules. Now the other thing that they totally nailed is they did the Invaders just like the original ones. Now the Invaders they're a spicy, ridiculous pickup. They turn a deluxe reverb into a roaring punk rock machine, but I love them. They're absurd and beautiful in the same words I would use to describe just that time of life. The early 2000s, that teenage angst, it is just ridiculous and fun and over the top. So, the White Invader, super cool. There's one volume knob on this. Now, let me talk about the neck real quick. So, the neck is a 9.5-inch radius. It is a chunky C-shape. It's not chunky, but it's a modern C-shaped neck. Very fun, very playable. It's a fun neck. The corners are really well rounded on this one. Now, this one, again, not sponsored. This guitar just happened to, it's going to be for sale at Hometown Music, but it showed up. I got it a couple days before the embargo. So I was able to squeeze in this video on a Sunday afternoon. The neck profile, very modern, very approachable. The headstock, very cool. It's very faint in color. The others were the same way, but as I've refinished mine, I went with an amber burst. So this is an amber. So this is kind of what I'm expecting, what I'm used to, and anyway. It's a little faint for me. Now, one of the things that they did that made this guitar much more approachable to normal guitar players, because when you have a Duncan Invader, it's like, what's that phrase? When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When all you have is 18K coming out of the pickup, every amp turns into a rectifier. But they added a treble bleed on this. And so if you don't know, a treble bleed circuit lets you turn the volume down on a guitar and you are continuing to keep the high frequencies in the signal as everything gets turned down. So normally you would lose a lot of the highs. They get really dark as they turn down and it makes the pickup even less usable. So this guitar is kind of like an Esquire with less controls on steroids. So it's a one pickup humbucker guitar with one volume, and so it needs a little bit of TLC. This has long been a mod that I've done on my own Tom DeLonge. Having a treble bleed, it just makes the guitar way more usable. Having owned one of these guitars for 20 years now, I feel like I'm a pretty good voice on what this guitar's like and if they are actually the same. So check out this Tom DeLonge. Every part and piece is changed. I'll have a whole bunch of stuff in the description down below. Main things you need to know, it's a Seymour Duncan Antiquity humbucker, and it's some fancy pot that Zach Broyles gave me from Mythos. Also has a Mythos treble bleed on it, and swapped Mexican bridge, upgraded tuners, everything's been changed, neck's been refinished, all kinds of things. this guitar. I think it's definitely a winner. $1,299 is a little expensive for me, but try and find an original one. They have shot up in value so high, they're really hard to find, especially the fun colors, particularly graffiti yellow. All in, this thing totally rips and wins and is really fun. If you want this one, it will be for sale at Hometown Music. You can email me. My link is all in the description down below for this one. We've got another one coming, and we want to help people find the right guitars for them. So, I'm Jeremy. This is Guitar Hunter. This is the Tom DeLonge Strat, and thanks for watching, and nailed it.